In order to save a hopelessly corrupt empire that would implode in on itself if it was shown the light of truth, the always honorable Worf takes the blame for crimes that he and his family had nothing to do with. Worf had to live with public dishonor, even though privately his honor was intact. Who among us would make the same choice? In case you haven't already guessed, this week we're looking at the beginning of a long journey for Worf, one that would span several seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation and then carry over into Star Trek: Deep Space Nine. TNG went on a serious roll of unforgettable classic episodes in Season 3, and one of them was Sins of the Father. Welcome back to SYFY WIRE's Warp Factor Classic Blend. Kapla and engage. Mission briefing. Take one. Prepare for a mission briefing! This episode first aired in 1990, but if you haven't seen... Nope. Let me go back. Alright, going again.
Still rolling.
Take two. Prepare for a mission briefing! This episode first aired in 1990, but if you haven't seen it, then it's new to you. All crew to spoiler stations, but because 1990, yellow alert! It's time for the Federation Klingon Officer Exchange Program to send a Klingon over to the Enterprise D. Commander Kurn arrives as acting first officer. He attempts to instill Klingon discipline and is completely sarcastic and insulting to Worf, especially during a special dinner.
While I'm sure this is well prepared, it is much too bland for the stomach of a Klingon.
Seems to agree with Worf.
Yes.
Worf finally unloads on him and Kurn is overjoyed. He was testing Worf, and not only that, he's his secret younger brother. What? Yeah, Worf's father, Moog, and the rest of his family died in the Romulan attack on Khitomer.
The Starfleet officer that rescued me was told by the Klingon High Command that I had no living relatives.
They assumed that I was killed with the family at Khitomer.
Kurn escaped that fate, was taken in by another Klingon house, and only told of his true ancestry later. He reveals himself to Worf now because their late father, Moog, and by extension their entire house, is being accused of treason by the Klingon High Council. They believe that Moog colluded with the Romulans in that attack. Kurn wants Worf to challenge this judgment. Worf asks Captain Picard for leave, and Picard does him one better. He says that he'll stand right by his side during the whole thing. Off to Kronos, they all go. Worf accepts Kurn as his Chadich, or ritual second. He also commands Kurn not to reveal his true bloodline because this would put Kurn in danger. As the elder brother, Worf calls the shots. Upon arrival, Worf makes his challenge while Duras, a huge rival to the House of Moog, slings accusations. Later, Chancellor Kimpek implores Worf to abandon this challenge while Duras tries to blackmail Kurn with the truth of his bloodline and ends up just attacking him. Bad move. Kurn will live, but it's clear that there is a whole host of shady stuff going on. Worf asks Picard to be his new Chadich, saying there is no one better qualified. The Enterprise crew is now digging into what really happened on Khitomer, and shocker! Data and LaForge find that the evidence against Moog is false. A Klingon nurse named Kayles knows the truth, so Picard seeks her out. She is unwilling to come forward, but after Picard is ambushed outside of her home by Duras loyalists, she changes her mind, fitting in some Kimpek fat-shaming too.
You are still fat, Kimpek.
There's always time, I guess. They hit the council chamber and a recess is called. Picard realizes that this whole thing is a farce, made up to cover someone else's dishonor. Duras' father was, big surprise, the one who aided the Romulans.
This Habidar should have been fed to the dogs!
His family is
powerful.
The Duras family is powerful, and exposing them would start a civil war. Kimpek didn't know about Kurn, and he thought Worf was all happy in Starfleet with no need to get involved. Now, both Worf and Kurn have to be executed because the House of Moog is still the scapegoat, and Klingon law sucks. I mean, it really sucks. Picard throws a fit over this hypocrisy, but Worf thinks of another way. He will accept discommendation, which means that he will admit to his father's guilt and lose his own honor. Kimpek loves this because it buries the secret and the sausage still gets made. Duras is one happy Harry, but Worf reminds him that he is the true traitor and smacks him, but good. Both Picard and Kimpek love to see it. Kurn is heartbroken, but Picard tells him there will be another day. The Council all name Worf a coward, and one by one they turn their backs on him in ritual fashion. Kurn, his secret intact, reluctantly does so as well.
SOKATH! His eyes uncovered!
Does Sins of the Father have all kinds of references and secrets hidden within? Does Worf take his baseball trash talk very seriously?
Hey, better, 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 better. Hey, better, 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 better.
Death to the opposition.
Take him out to the ball game. A big yes to both questions. It's not really a secret or a reference, but this episode is just the beginning of an epic storyline. Things would pick up again in Season 4's Reunion, where Duras slimes his way into the proceedings once more. Kimpek dies, Worf's baby mama Kayla returns and is killed by Duras. Duras is killed by Worf. And future Klingon Chancellor Gowron shows up. The truth is finally revealed. Worf's honor is restored, and the civil war that Kimpek was so afraid of all happens in the TNG two-parter Redemption. The Romulans, as they are wont to do, have their mitts all up in that biznash.
Worf! It is good to see you.
These episodes would solidify Worf's friendship with Gowron. 10 seconds after Worf joins Deep Space Nine, Worf disappoints Gowron and loses his honor again.
Worf, I have always considered you a friend and an ally. And because you are my friend, I am giving you this one last chance to redeem yourself. Come with me.
Kurn feels the brunt of it this time too, because the truth of his bloodline has since been made clear. Once Deep Space Nine's Federation Klingon conflict was resolved and the Klingons were allies once again, Gowron eventually accepts Worf back into the fold, especially after Worf is made a member of the House of Martok.
Then what is past is past.
But Gowron's leadership is awful, and Worf ends up killing him in the DS9 Season 7 episode Tacking into the Wind. Worf, who once accepted discommendation and received grief to no end, is almost made Chancellor. He rejects the position, however, and gives the honor to General Martok.
Hail Bartok!
It's quite a journey for everyone all around. We saw the other side of the Federation Klingon Officer Exchange Program in the TNG Season 2 episode A Matter of Honor, where Riker served on a Klingon ship. Actor Tony Todd plays Kurn, and he would recur as this character several times. Todd would also star as an older Jake Sisko in one of Trek's greatest hours, the DS9 classic The Visitor. If Kimpek looks a little similar to General Cord from Star Trek V, that's because it's the same actor. Charles Cooper played both roles, and even his big shiny cloak is the same.
Obviously.
This is also the first time in all of Trek that we actually see the Klingon home world of Kronos, Council Hall and all. We'd be back. Teleplay co-writer Ronald D. Moore has said that the ending of this episode changed Worf forever, and that it required follow-up storylines, something TNG rarely did. As he said, all the Worf storylines sprung from that moment. the always outstanding actor behind Worf, Michael Dorn, has said of this episode, "You look at Worf in a different light, and I've played him in a different light ever since that episode." If you ask me, and you haven't, I don't think the Klingon Empire deserved Worf or his sacrifice. They were willing to throw both sons of Moog to the dogs to save their own butts, and the corruption didn't magically improve as the seasons went on. Worf has to make constant personal sacrifices for an empire that shuns and mocks him at every turn. Not only does he make sacrifices, he makes sacrifices that almost no one is aware of. That's true virtue, and it's also why he's Worf and I'm not, because I'd have rampaged up and down the cosmos blasting the truth about Duras and the Council cover-up to anyone and everyone. Screw those guys, and screw honor. All of it. As Shakespeare's glorious old knight once said, what is honor? A word. What is in that word honor? What is that honor? Air. A trim reckoning. So ends my catechism.
Earl Grey never fails.
Earl Grey never fails. And Sins of the Father doesn't fail to bring some seriously incredible quotes, including a great one from Worf to Duras, a line that would go on to be said in different iterations by all Klingons from that point forward.
It is a good day to die, Duras, and the day is not yet over.
It's hard to beat Picard's words to Kurn at the end of the episode, however. He may not be Klingon, but the true meaning of what Worf is doing is not lost on him at all.
There will be another day, Commander. Do not forget what he does here today. Do not let your children forget.
Earl Grey and some classic quotes. No dishonor in that.
How long has this bird been dead? It appears to have been lying in the sun for quite some time.
Will the events of this episode have anything to do with the future of Trek? The return of Worf on Star Trek Picard would be most welcome, and this episode, as well as the whole storyline that it sets off, not only defined Worf, but also his relationship with Jean-Luc. The scene in Star Trek First Contact, where Picard calls Worf a coward, for example, is so much more powerful because of the groundwork laid here. The return of the great J.G. Hertzler as Martok, whether still Chancellor or not, would also be most welcome. So welcome! He's not in this episode, Sins of the Father, but he's tied forever to Worf, so who cares? I almost want to see him more than I want... Crusher Watch! Crusher Watch! Yup, she's here. This is the episode where we find out that her middle initial is C. It stands for Copernicus. Not really. It stands for Crusher. Her middle name is also Crusher. Also not really.
Hailing frequencies open.
Our hailing frequencies are now open. Feel free to share your thoughts on Sins of the Father, Worf, corruption, honor, and how badly you want to see Duras torn apart by Targs. One viewer writes, the tribble on your head is trying to escape from your head and infect Earth. You can do better. Another viewer writes, bring back Deadly Class, please. I'm begging you guys. Oh, all right, but only because you begged. I don't have the power to bring shows back. Believe me, I don't. Or do I? Maybe I do. I'm not past it. Screw Kempek, screw the Council, and definitely screw Duras. Gowron, one of the most slippery politicians in Trek, was aghast when he eventually found out what went down in this episode. If it's too much for him, yeah, it's probably too much. They're all damn lucky to have Worf, I'll tell you that. They should rename the home world after him. Planet Worf. He'd probably hate that, but he'd like it more than Risa. He did not enjoy that little trip, did he? This commendation was tame by comparison. Even screwed with the weather. Got religious. Yeah, you would not like Planet Worf.